What? RamView on Saturday? It's RamView on Saturday.
It's all out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the May 25th, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. I am here on Saturday. I apologize. It was a late notice yesterday, and I was supposed to be here at 8 o'clock this morning, but Affairs of State took precedence over the Affairs of State. And so if anyone joins me today, I'll be really honored. But the thinking was just blow it out, dude. Come back Monday, do it Monday. But the truth is, I got material that's geared for, Friday and Saturday. I didn't want to just not have that I'm being kind of selfish here. I just didn't want to waste the work I put in because I was prepared to go on the air yesterday until a couple of calls came in. Again, nothing catastrophic. Wife's a tiny bit under the weather, but nothing big. I appreciate the folks that just checked in and just asked us if we were doing well. All right, let's get to this, and I promise it won't be a 50-minute show today, but let's just hit our marks, huh? As I was prepping yesterday, I moved it to the top of the list because it came across my screen. They showed somebody from Rams Park showed a one-handed catch by Tutu Atwell. It looked great. It was a great catch by Atwell. The question about Atwell has never been his hands. It's not his speed. It's just his size, and we understand that. And it's not his fault. He was drafted 57th overall, ahead of the greatest Ram ever who never played, Creed Humphrey. But I am an Atwell guy, right? And in 2021, he wasn't going to get reps as a rookie. There's just no way. That was a Super Bowl team. He wasn't going to get reps. He did make some plays in 2022. But come on, he was catching passes from Bryce Perkins and John Wolford, right? Last year, he was contributing until, Demarcus Robinson simply started outplaying him. And then the other aspect of it, too, was, it changed when Cooper Kupp came back. Matthew Stafford's got options of a hot Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Yeah, Atwell's going to drop on the target list, and he certainly did. And Robinson came in. He's a little easier to see. But that doesn't mean Atwell was playing bad or there couldn't be a role for him. And here's the other thing about Atwell. He's got 57 catches, 4 touchdowns in 2 seasons roughly playing. His first year, I think he had 10 snaps, and then he separated his shoulder. Atwell doesn't turn 25 until this October. And I doubt the Rams are going to re-sign him. I'd like to see them re-sign him. I'd hate to see him go someplace else and be utilized by another team. But Atwell's an asset, and I like to see them utilize him. And there's no issue about his hands. And I just get a little worn out when people bag on him. I did see that I think it was Cam Silva on Rams Wire posted what other groups, SI, Pro Football Network, Bleacher Report, are predicting for the Rams records this year. Sports Illustrated has the Rams 11-6. Another site, 33rd Team, 9-8. Pro Football Network 10-7. Bleacher Report 9-8. Fox has the Rams at 10-7. I'm in the double-digit range. I think we've talked about this. I see low end for the Rams 11-6. I see high end 13-4. I definitely think they should win more games this year because they're better. And the tougher games are at home. And literally, they're playing the Jets, who you don't have any idea where they're going to be. Schedule or record wise, and they're playing the Patriots. We know what the Patriots are, and I was surprised to hear some folks project them Rams losing to the Patriots, but somehow beating the Jets. I thought that was a little weird prediction, and of course, it's all where it plays out on the schedule, and then they go to Chicago early, so I don't see any struggles there really on the road. Outside of going to Frisco and in the division stuff, and Detroit early, but that's in a dome. So I like the Rams 11-6, high end 13-4. Last year, I like them at least low end 8-9, high end if things went their way, we liked them at 10-7, and lo and behold, they finished 10-7. Finally, I was asked also, didn't I cry? How come I made no mention of Puka giving his mom a car earlier this week? And it was great. It was cool. The behind the grind stuff is interesting, right? And it looks like a great family that overcame a lot, but I didn't get all verklempt about it. I didn't get all verklempt about it. I just didn't get worked up emotional about it. Maybe I'm cold. Maybe I'm not nice. I like Nacua. His family looks great, but I don't know. I cringe with those things. It goes back to previous draft stuff. Trying to gin up that emotion in you, build those connections. My connections are Nacua laying out along the sideline for a one-handed grab in Baltimore, right? That's where my emotions get tied in, right? And I don't need the family life to make me root for them all the more. I'm going to root for them because they're in blue and gold and they're in horns, right? So anyway, around the NFL and other places, Steeler fan Rob sent me a link that talked about Caleb Williams struggling on his second day of OTAs. But then when I looked at it, it said he was without his receivers. I don't think Keenan Allen and DJ Moore played, and a couple of his offensive linemen were out. And it reminded me of a note I saw several years ago. Jimmy G was coming back from another one of his injuries, right? And he came back, and on 3 consecutive passes, he threw 3 consecutive picks, and it kind of worked its way through the internet. They're like, oh, Jimmy G's struggling. Yeah, he's struggling. 6 months later, he had beaten the Rams twice, right? And so, I don't take too much out of OTAs. Let's see him really struggle in a preseason game. Let's see him struggle interpersonally with some of his teammates. And then you're going to wonder what you got, but I don't think that's going to happen with Caleb Williams. Contract issues still up in the air, and a couple of them affect the Rams because they are playing these teams. You got the Dolphins with Tua. I wouldn't pay Tua. I just wouldn't do it. But here's the problem. You got Tyreek Hill. You got Jalen Waddle. And, what is Tua going to do? Is Tua going to sit out? And if there's real issues there, who comes in this season? Because this season kind of turns into a wash where I'm not a big Tua fan. Not that he's not a good person or anything like that, but I'm not a big Tua fan just in terms of his game long range. What do you do if you're the Dolphins? You're going to be forced to sign him. Justin Jefferson with the Vikings. The Rams are facing the Vikings later this year. Justin Jefferson, like I said, great receiver. Doesn't scare me because he's just one receiver. CeeDee Lamb, he's not satisfied with his. T. Higgins is franchise tag with the Bengals. He wants out. Cortland Sutton wants more money, but all the Bronco money went to Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson this year. I don't know if they got the dough to pay Cortland Sutton. And they said something about his extension could be 3 years, 14, 4 years, 14. And so interesting to see how that plays out. Darius Slayton to the Giants. Brandon Ayuk, that's a big one for the 49ers. Pay him. I hope you pay him. Hamstring yourselves. Pay him. Tristan Wirfs, tackle with Buccaneers. He wants to get paid. Cam Haywood's 35. And as I read in the article about him, it said that, he's in that mode of, pay me or I retire. Cam Hayward's 35. I wouldn't give him, if I'm the Steelers or Steeler fan Rob, anything outrageous. You've already got TJ Watt turning 30 this year. So I would make my focus there. Hayward's given you some great years, but if he's threatening to walk, then let him walk. He's 35. He wasn't great last year. And Carolina kicker Eddie Pineiro, he wants a contract extension as well. And I thought that was pretty interesting, in case, Josh Carty doesn't make out. I did make in my notes yesterday that the Chargers cut Western Carolina offensive tackle Tyler Smith. He was an undrafted free agent signed by the Chargers after the draft. And you might say, well, what's the big deal, right? Who cares? All kinds of guys get cut. But, I'm just thinking it must have been such a happy moment for Tyler Smith and his family to get that call after the draft to say, hey, man, come out to California and we'll see what we got and we'll give you a shot here. And that was in April. And we're not even through May. We're not even quite a month, we're just about coming up to a month removed from the NFL draft. And Tyler Smith already got cut by the Chargers. And, maybe they'll bring him back. Sometimes it's a housekeeping thing that you're doing and you bring him back. Rams cut some guys before after signing them and then brought them right back. Lance McCutcheon was one. But just how quick the dream just gets crushed, right? The dream just gets crushed so quick. I'm going to LA. I'm going to work with the Chargers, and then a month later, I'm coming home with my bags packed. Just heartbreaking how the business can be sometimes. Speaking of heartbreaking on the higher end, former Bengals first round wide receiver John Ross, who's been bouncing around everywhere, signed with the Eagles. And then it really lined up because another former first round pick of the Bengals named Billy Price, this is more serious, a center out of Ohio State. And he's bounced around the league for several years. He was not a successful draft pick for the Bengals. It was emergency news. He retired at the age of 29 due to emergency surgery, remove a blood clot, a pulmonary embolism, right? Wow. I'm not linking the situation exactly, because all medical things have that differential thing. But remember, Alaric Jackson missed the back half of 2022 with blood clots. And I don't know, it just popped up into my head when I saw that about Billy Price. Apparently, he's going to be okay. He's going to be on some blood thinners. He's going to retire, and good for him, right? Go on and use that degree he got from Ohio State to get beaten up a lot less. And then last note on Billy Price. He was taken 21st overall in 2018. He was taken ahead of current Bears wide receiver DJ Moore. I think Tennessee Titan wide receiver Calvin Ridley. He's taking over before Lamar Jackson, right? If the Bengals had taken Lamar Jackson in 2018, I don't think they ever would have taken Joe Burrow, and that would have been an interesting scenario. And then I don't think Lamar Jackson would be the Lamar Jackson he is today. I think he went to the right organization to let him develop. And then in that same 2018 draft, the Browns took Nick Chubb 35th overall, and Price was taken ahead of all those guys. Just something interesting I thought I'd throw out there. Hey, guys, I'm Joe Terosian, a sports writer for 21 years. I do have a couple questions there, guys. Thank you so much. Was not expecting a crowd today. So I write books, and I do RamView. Thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. You can check out my books on Amazon. Just type in Joe, Torosian, and you can support us there, and you have been. Thank you so much. And check out Kistler Law if you have an auto accident and need questions, need help. Check out Kistler Law. Okay, let's look at a couple of the questions here before I go into Rams update. Tim Burns, loyal guy, set the alarm, and I let you down this morning, man. I let you down. Sorry about that. Tim Burns, let's see. Stetson, you need time off. You let teams know before the draft. It's Simone Biles. LBJ, LeBron James game management mentality. Bennett can walk. Okay, you're out on Bennett. I must have missed something. Did Bennett ask for more time again? Did that come up? Something did I break overnight that I missed? Let me know, Mr. Burns. Tim Burns, Blake Corum being a 3-down back is going to be fruitful in 12 games. I know Tim Burns sent me a breakdown, and I'm sorry, Tim. I probably should have shared that. Tim Burns shared with me a breakdown of Blake Corum. In 12 games, in 22-23, given 20-plus carries, he averaged 139 yards per game and totaled 20 TDs versus Penn State, Alabama, and Ohio State. I think Tim Burns is all in on Blake Corum, right? And I'm good. I'm good with that. I think that's great. Let's see here. Tim Burns, saw they ranked Jets as third toughest game on Rams schedule. I hope so. Yeah, I think there's two things that is happening here, Tim. I think one, they're overestimating, and I know again it's sacrilege. They're overestimating the impact of Aaron Donald leaving the Rams. I don't think it's two more losses because Aaron Donald's not there. I think there'll be some harder struggles, but they're overestimating the loss of Aaron Donald. And also, I think they're overestimating the fact that, Aaron Rodgers is going to be around for a full season. And again, it's the Jets. The Jets are they're like the Cardinals East. They're just cursed. When something bad's going to happen, it's going to happen to them, right? They're like the lightning rod for crud in the AFC and in the East. And so, yeah, I thought it was a little high for the Jets to be rated. I agree. They got him projected at 9 wins. Let's see here. Steeler fan Rob, Justin Fields is going to be better than Caleb Williams. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what they got in the water out there in Missouri. Steeler fan Rob. Justin Williams is probably not going to be better than Caleb Williams, or he'd still be in Chicago. If he had shown any ability to hit an open receiver in Chicago, He had receivers last year. He had a tight end last year. He had a better offensive line last year, and he didn't show anything. And I think the fact that the Steelers got him so cheap shows that no one has any faith in Justin Fields but you, right? You guys put on that Steeler black and gold, and suddenly, it's like people used to put on Celtic uniforms, and suddenly they were great. No, I don't think so. Caleb Williams might be a bust, but he'll join Justin Fields in being a bust. I think the best thing could happen for Justin Fields is he sits for 2 years and just sits behind Russell Wilson and such if he's got the patience for it. But no, I don't think Justin Fields is better than Caleb Williams. Tim Burns, Snead said Bennett was burned out. Yeah, okay. If he wants to say that, I didn't see the interview, but whatever. I think you're right. I think, I just don't know. A guy like Bennett, who's had to get by on his moxie and his everything else, his motor and everything. I don't believe those guys burn out too soon. I don't care. You're right. It is a Simone Biles thing. It is one of those things where, you know what? Sorry, you don't get a chance. Like I used to deal with young riders at the mid, 21-year-old guys, 19-year-old guys. And, our artificial deadline that we created for them was you got to get your stuff in by midnight, which is nothing like the paper. Steve Ramirez, it used to be 10 o'clock when I was stringing for the Star News. You had to get it in by 10 or a certain time, and you only had so much time. It was a lot of pressure. It was great if you're a test person. But for our young guys, we'd say midnight, and then they couldn't get it worked out. I said, okay, man, I'll cut you some slack. And it's a couple hours later, and then all of a sudden they went home and they never turned in their copy. And so we'd have to round up the game they were at. And I said, what happened? They said, I had writer's block. And I said, you can't afford to have writer's block. Someone asked me about my books. If I ever get writer's block, I said, no, I don't make enough money to have writer's block. I'm not good enough to have writer's block. You got to, when the paycheck's on the line, you got to write. You got to do your job. And so I think it was something else. I think the Rams are being kind to Stetson Bennett. And if that's the case of where he was burned out, he needed time off, then I agree with you, Tim Burns, you move on. I would never, if I was an advertiser, when Simone Biles did her thing at the Olympics, she'd have been cut off right there, right there. I'm not calm on these things. Steve Ramirez, Raiders giving Aiden O'Connell Ken Stabler's number 12. How's that number not retired? Especially now that he is in the Hall of Fame, right? I agree. It's total disrespect, I think, in one sense there. I saw that post. I think you posted it on Twitter yesterday, didn't you, Steve? Or Twix, Steve. But I agreed with you, right? I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't retire it unless maybe they talk to family or something. I mean, Ken Stabler, unfortunately, played 5 more years than he should have. He had those last seasons in Houston and then those awful years with the bad Saints teams. But Ken Stabler, he was the left-handed Joe Montana until there was Joe Montana. You just didn't want Ken Stabler getting the ball late in the game because he was just that good. I think John Madden said when you were up 28-0 or something like that, Ken Stabler was just average. But when you were down by a touchdown in the fourth quarter, Ken Stabler is the greatest quarterback who ever lived. Madden said something like that. That's just a paraphrase. But that's who Stabler was, right? I got a funny Ken Stabler story, but I'll share it later. Not that I've not met Ken Stabler. It's just I got my sports chops tested by someone once who wanted me to share what Ken Stabler's nickname was, and I thought it was just a ridiculous question. Anyway, let's keep moving on here. It's Tim Burns. Steeler fan Rob is heavily medicated, I do believe. Let's see. Thomas Wilson, a few times Caleb had a hard time versus weak Pac-12 defenses. I want to argue that with you, but I will argue the USC offensive line was so terrible that those Pac-12 defenses looked better. And this was a good season in the Pac-12 from the top dogs, Washington, Oregon, USC, down to Washington State. In fact, one of those guys is on our team right now, on the Rams team right now, Brennan Jackson. I think there are times you watch Caleb Williams play and you think that guy's phenomenal. The only thing he's missing is his cape, but you can see he's got limitations. And the thing that I'm worried about with Caleb Williams is, and I used to call it, well, I still do, when Stafford tries to make a play that's dead, make something out of nothing. And I call it PTDS, post-traumatic Detroit syndrome, when Stafford tries to make something out of nothing instead of just eating the ball or throwing it away. I think Caleb Williams could suffer from that. When he's given lemons, it's like, dude, just take the lemons. Don't try to make lemonade out of everything. And they call it hero ball, and I think he could struggle there. So I'm not completely moving off of that. Tom Wilson, I do have some agreement with you there. Tim Burns, DeMarco Farr, JB Long say all running backs are bowling balls, but Zach Evans. Does this hurt or help his chances? Now, I think it would help Zach Evans' chances if Zach Evans just owns it, man. Because he's probably the most talented physically guy in that running back room. It's just, hey, man, I gotta learn I gotta learn pass protection. I gotta learn going routes. I gotta learn to do these other things. That's tough. When you're the best. We see this all the time. It happens in baseball a lot of. The San Gabriel Valley here may not have a lot of D1 football talent, but the San Gabriel Valley had a lot of baseball talent. And you get close to some of these kids because you get to know who their little league coaches were, who their high school coaches were. And then you hear the stories that these kids were so good that they reached a point even in high school where you couldn't coach them. You couldn't get them moved on to the next to adjust their game because they thought their fastball was the best, right? Their hitting plan was the best. And they became uncoachable, and they never became anything more, and they flamed out. And we see that with football players where I'm man. Zach Evans has always been the man, and it didn't work out in college because some people weren't going to put up with it. Rams recognize his talent, and at some point you got to realize I'm hanging by a thread, and the light better go on. And my guess is, he ends up at some point getting cut by the Rams, and the light goes on someplace else. If not, he just drifts into obscurity. Let's see here. Steeler fan Rob, Chicago didn't know how to manage Fields. You'll see how much he has improved with the Steelers. Oh gosh. This isn't Kool-Aid, but can someone give Steeler fan Rob some water to thin out the Kool-Aid he's drinking? I agree. The Steelers are a good place for him if he sits for a while. I agree. But the truth is they couldn't get anything for him. They didn't give up anything for him. The league is out on him. And the same management that is in place for Caleb Williams was in place for Justin Fields. So as Caleb Williams succeeds this year, what does that say about Justin Fields? All right. Rob, Steeler fan Rob, but he will be a backup for Wilson this year. And he should be. That would be the best thing for him, I think, this year. Okay, guys, you have more questions, throw them my way. Rams update. Second half of the show won't be too long here. Ernest Brown IV, late former of the Rams, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, signed a contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We wish him well. He's always that tweener guy. Is he a hand in the dirt guy? Is he an edge guy? Hopefully. I want to look at the Rams cornerbacks real quick here. We've done this before, but today I'm looking at the opponent's wide receivers, okay? We're looking at the opponents the Rams are playing and their wide receivers. We talked about their quarterbacks and how most of the matchups during the 17-game schedule, outside of maybe Josh Allen, the Rams have the quarterback advantage. And I'm talking a quarterback advantage over Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, all these guys. I think the Rams have an advantage. Let's look at their wide receivers of their opponents after we look at the cornerbacks of the Rams. The Rams signed Darius Williams to a 3-year deal. He makes $4 this year, counting bonuses. He makes about $4 this year. 9 next year, but not a lot of that's guaranteed, right? And so the Rams could easily move off Darius Williams if to this year's a whiff. Trey White is a 1-year contract. You move off of it. He can move off. He can decide, I want something better, more than the Rams can pay me, and the Rams can move on. Kobe Durant and Darian Kendrick, both with a lot of experience now, are going to be backups playing in their 3rd year. That means going into 2025, the Rams could be going into that season. If Darius Williams flames out this year, the Rams could be going into 2025 with Kobe Durant, Darian Kendrick in their last year of their rookie contracts, and Trey Tomlinson, who's in his 2nd year this year, going into his 3rd. So that definitely puts the Rams in the corner category. Rams have not drafted a corner high. Rams haven't drafted anybody high these last few years, but it's just something to keep an eye on in terms of the room. Now, if Darius Williams is what he was last year and Trey White can bounce back to something like he was before, that's a strong room considering the experience Durant and Kendrick have. And then you're running Quentin Lake, hopefully, at the star position. So the secondary looks good at this point. Who are the Rams' opponents this year and the wide receiver rooms that these corners will be facing? On opening night, they got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, and Khalif Raymond in Detroit. St. Brown's a nightmare, right? He's a nightmare. Jamison Williams is okay. Khalif Raymond, okay, whatever. But that's one huge receiver the Rams have to worry about, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he's legit. It's one receiver there. Week 2 against the Cardinals, they've got Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, the Stanford guy, and Greg Dortch. One receiver, Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch. Dortch is former Ram property. Those guys are okay. Marvin Harrison's supposed to be great, but again, one great receiver with a suspect quarterback, and I consider Kyler Murray suspect. That doesn't scare me too much. Week 3 against the 49ers. Right now, you got Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, and Ricky Pearsall. And you're wondering how much Pearsall is going to get on the field. Is there going to be some kind of change in their philosophy a little bit in Frisco? And person, again, I hope Ayuk doesn't go anywhere. I hope he gets a big fat contract. And because Deebo Samuel, believe it or not, I think is more valuable than Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk's the better receiver, but the truth is that you can find a better receiver. Deebo Samuel is a little more versatile, and so yeah, I would move off Ayuk if I were the Rams in this situation. But the 49ers, sign Ayuk, sign him. But that tandem together, that trio together, that could be problems for the Rams secondary. This trio could be problems if Caleb Williams is half of what they say he's going to be for the Bears in week 4. They got DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Keenan Allen. Now, Keenan Allen will probably be hurt, right? But Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, that's pretty devastating. Then you're running Gerald Everett and Cole Kmet at tight end. That's pretty devastating offensive game for the Bears. Hopefully, they're still feeling their way out and trying to figure things out. I'd much rather face the Bears in week 4 than week 14. And we're going to see, right? We're going to see. Week 5, the Rams are playing the Packers, and they got a lot of receivers. The leading ones are Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Jaden Reed. All those guys are pretty good. I think they could be better in another year. So right now, I like the Rams secondary against them. So week 6 is a bye. Week 7, the Rams get the Raiders. They're facing. I put the wrong one there. They're facing Devontae Adams and the kid from. Man, I put up the wrong name here for the Raiders. Whatever it is, they got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell throwing to Devontae Adams. Hunter Renfrow is gone. They got the kid that played in New England, and my mind's just escaping me. But they did draft Brock Bowers, and so I just don't think the Raiders are there where they're going to hurt the Rams too much. The Vikings, is it going to be Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy? If you heard struggles about Caleb Williams, you heard some struggles with J.J. McCarthy. Justin Jefferson's not happy. Brandon Powell, the former Ram, and then of course Jordan Addison. I think that's a tough matchup with Addison and Jefferson on the outside, but it doesn't scare me. I think if the Rams are up to what they should be, you got one great receiver and a couple of suspect quarterbacks. The Seahawks, that one's always been good. Metcalf, Lockett, and then they added JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. The question is, who's going to get them the ball? Geno Smith or Sam Harrell, right? Geno Smith or Sam Harrell. Hopefully, one of the during week 9, we'll hear Geno Smith call on the blessings of the Almighty as Kobe Turner bears in on him, but we'll see. Rams, Dolphins, Monday Night Football, week 10. I don't trust Tua. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Odell Beckham doesn't scare me anymore. But if Waddle and Tyreek Hill are healthy and they're on their game, yeah, that's going to be a challenge for this secondary. The Patriots, week 11, Kendrick Bourne, Juju Smith-Schuster, Demario Douglas. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that one there. Eagles, if Jalen Hurts is healthy. I don't think Jalen Hurts is super healthy. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Paris Campbell. Plus they got Goddard, and they got a good they got a lot of good of everything there in Philly, but they were more frightening last year than they are this year. Again, I'm not high on Jalen Hurts. Saints, Chris Olave is the only one left there. They got Cedric Wilson, Rashid Shaheed catching passes from Derek Carr. Not too worried about that one. The Bills have solid receivers in Khalil Shakur and Curtis Samuel, and they just signed MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. But it's Josh Allen that's going to make them better. then those receivers are going to make Josh Allen better. And then it's a repeat against the 49ers. And then the Jets, Garrett Wilson, former Charger Mike Williams, and Alan Lazard. But again, that Jet situation is perpetually fluid. You don't know what's going to be there. In week 17, you get the Cardinals with Marvin Harrison again. And then week 18, you get the Seahawks with Metcalf, Lockett, and Najigba. Again, none of these things where you're looking where the Rams are going to be outmatched, right? Because if the receiving core is solid, the quarterback room is suspect, like in Seattle or Miami. The one that does interest me, and I'm glad it's week 4, is to see Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams early, because he's going to have his growing pains. And stuff. But guys like Marvin Harrison, Justin Jefferson, they just don't scare me because it's a question of who the quarterback is getting them the ball. And just wanted to throw all that out there. One birthday I wanted to mention before we wrap up here and go back to your questions. Yesterday, didn't get to mention Jeff Zaganina. He was a defensive lineman from Purdue. He spent 5 seasons with the Rams in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was a defensive tackle, played 17 seasons in the NFL as a 7th-round pick out of Purdue. He appeared in both Rams Super Bowls in 99 and 2001. In 99, he had 4.5 sacks. He turned 54 yesterday, Jeff Zaganina. And I think people forgot about him. I know he's easy to forget when you think of DeMarco Farr, Kevin Carter, and all those guys. But I thought it bared mention that he was on that Super Bowl team as well, and he should be mentioned. Also, tomorrow, since we're not on the air, I want to get this one out. And I do it because it's just out of appreciation when somebody gives you a click. So I always like Ben Skoranek because for a 7th-round pick, he gave the Rams a lot of clicks, right? In 2021, on May 26th, the Rams signed Kareem Orr for the first time. Now, he got bounced around a lot, got cut, got re-signed, all that kind of stuff. But their first association with Kareem Orr was on this tomorrow in 2021. And if you remember, late in 2021, when the Rams were coming off that 3-game losing streak in November, it was the Rams got hit with everyone suddenly having COVID. They're on the plane and, they got COVID. Jalen Ramsey can't play. And there was all that stuff, chaos going into Arizona. And the Rams ended up having to start Kareem Orr. And he didn't embarrass himself. And he played. And the Rams won the game. Season turned around and everything would go to the Super Bowl. And that was it for Kareem Orr. But, he did a solid job for what was then a fairly dangerous Cardinal team. And so I always have a soft spot for those guys who come in and give you one click, right? Give you one click. I'm sure Kareem Orr probably got a ring for that. And so good for him. And but I did want to mention Kareem Orr. Tomorrow is the 3-year anniversary and the Rams first associated with him. He had bounced around the league as a journeyman, not getting hardly any playing time at all. And then he gave the Rams one game, and that one game mattered. So kudos to Kareem Orr, wherever he's coaching at these days. Okay, let's see here. We did get some more questions. Let's see. Tim Burns, Dickerson or Falk, if you could have them for 10 years. Okay, again, I would, because how do you say this in a polite, how do you say this? We got to see a more grown-up offenses with the Rams in 99, right? John Robinson and that crew in the 80s, I don't think they knew how to use Eric Dickerson. I just don't think they knew how to use him, because couldn't you imagine, Dickerson just flashing to a slot? And because Dickerson could catch the ball, you could have done so much more with Dickerson. But Marshall Faulk, we did see, and they did it all with Marshall Faulk. And if you're saying for 10 years, is this heresy? I'm going to say Marshall Faulk. There we go. Tim Burns, do you see San Fran above or below us in the next year's standings? Below us. I do. I think the opportunity is there. I think it's there. I think the 49ers have hit their peak. Age and the realization of things have hit them. I don't think Brock Purdy's a mystery anymore. I think they got salary cap issues because we know Deebo Samuel can get banged up. We know Trent Williams is getting older. They haven't solved right tackle. If they're going to dance with Colton McKivitz, I guess they are. George Kittle is getting older. I think they hit their window. I think their window is about open like that. And are they going to get another healthy year? A 3rd straight year out of Christian McCaffrey with good health. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So I see the Rams, climbing on top of Frisco. The team to be concerned about, I think, going forward in the future is the Cardinals. Their biggest worry for me is Kyler Murray. I hope they don't get rid of Kyler Murray, because I think Kyler Murray is a guy that will hold that team back ultimately. Let's see, Biozio. Trey Tucker, Biozio. Gallup. I'm sorry. Help me with that one. Are you talking Trey Tomlinson, Biozio? Tim Burns, who are the NFC division champs next year? Well, you're slaying all this on me, man. I would go Atlanta in the AFC South, because I think they're a little bit better than the Buccaneers right now, and I think they're better than the Saints, and I think they're better than Carolina. So someone's got to go 8-9 and win that division, right? And so I'd go Falcons. I'm going to go Rams in the NFC West. I'm going to go Lions. Because we've seen the Lions slowly just keep climbing the ladder. I think the Packers surprised people. I think they are very good, but can they put it together for a second consecutive season with Jordan Love and those young receivers? And those young receivers have to stay healthy. And are they going to get what they expect out of Josh Jacobs? They got a great offensive line. But I'm going to lean the Lions. I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid and give it to the Bears or anything right now, but I would lean Lions in the AFC North. In the East, I think you got to go with Philly. I think the Cowboys are cruising for a bruising. I think the Taxkins, they could finish 8-9, 7-10. I think they can cause some damage to some of those teams in there. Dan Quinn's a competent HC, and if Jaden Daniels is what they say he is, yeah, I think the Taxkins could make some noise, and I think that causes the Eagles to win 11, 12 games because of their division. And the Giants, Cowboys, and Taxkins aren't stopping the Eagles this year. And I don't think the Eagles are that great. I just don't think the rest of that division's very good. Let's see here. Tim Burns, final word on Stetson. You're burned out with the pressure of 2 national championships and need a year to relax. Not who I want in the huddle in the fourth quarter of a game. Preach. There you go. Thank you, Biozio. Trey Tucker, Michael Gallup. Thank you. Sorry about that. Thank you so much. I butchered my prep list. When I prepped for the Raiders, I actually ended up prepping the Browns instead of the Raiders. I don't know why I went there. And I'm looking at Jerry Jeudy and I'm looking at Amari Cooper. When those guys aren't Raiders, what am I doing here? Thank you for that. Rob Sorge, a Steeler fan, Rob. Niners and Lions in the NFC. I think you're just saying that out of spite. I got Niners Lions last year, man. You love the old guys, dude. You must be like Steeler fan, Rob. You must like the age guys because you're like the George Allen of the 21st century. You always want to go with those veterans, right? Thinking there's a little bit more you can get out of them. Okay, guys, we did hit the 40-minute mark. Cool. Not much else here. Tomorrow is former Ram punter Ken Clark's birthday. He passed away in 2021. He would be 76 if he was still with us. He actually is a Canadian kicking legend. Biozio, Rams versus Lions, NFC Championship. I could see that. I can see a lot of things happening, right? I think the NFC is just tough. The NFC is just tough in terms of who they're matching up with, but so is the AFC. I think physically, I still like the NFC better, but the AFC has the quarterbacks, right? And I don't think anyone thought, looking at the Chiefs last year, they could have gone to the Super Bowl, right? Travis Kelce had a swift hangover for most of the season, and then he picked it up in the playoffs. He looked great, and then they got to keep Chris Jones. Yeah, the Chiefs look really good this year. AFC, I don't know. I was a Steeler guy last year. I'm not a Steeler guy this year. I drank some of that Steeler fan Rob Kool-Aid last year for the Steelers, but I think they missed a shot last year. The Bengals, Joe Burrow's never healthy, and the Ravens are going to do well, but the Ravens are going to fold in the playoffs because of Lamar Jackson's limitations as a passer. I don't trust the Browns as long as Deshaun Watson is still there, although I'm hearing he's throwing the ball really well. So I think because of Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow's ability to get hurt, I think the Steelers could be definitely in the playoff hunt. In the AFC East, I'm leaning Buffalo all the way. I just don't trust the Dolphins in cold weather. And then, Tua's got limitations. And then in the AFC South, what are we looking at? Houston? Yeah. I think the Colts are going to be better than people think. The Titans, They've invested, like they're saying Will Levis is the guy. We got him some receivers to throw to. That's definitely one to think about there. And then Jacksonville's got to bounce back, right? Jacksonville's got to bounce. They were better than they were last year. What were they? What were they like at one point, like 8-3 last year, 8-2, something before the roof caved in. They are going to be back and just keep them healthy. I think the AFC South has kind of come alive again. And I just wouldn't look past the Colts. I thought they did a really good job last year with no talent. Steelers are better this year. Yeah, sorry, Steeler fan Rob, they're always better this year. Okay, guys, you guys showed a lot of patience with me. Thanks for checking up, actually asking if we're healthy and we're okay. I do appreciate that. So please leave your thoughts, comments, hit like, subscribe. I value your opinions a lot more than I do some others because you're invested in football. And so I appreciate them. Keep me honest, and keep me working like BioZio does. There we go. Okay, guys, God bless. We'll see you Monday, even on the holiday. It's okay. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.